Yo, what's good? It's been on fire here back from the video, and today we're going to be hopping into Wesley's gun bunch offense in Madden 22 that he ran in that Madden Bowl tournament. Continuing on to our series, still want to do a couple more of these, so let me know who you want to see, but Wesley was one that was requested a decent amount, and we're going to go into some setups out of the gun bunch offset formation, as well as a couple out of the halfback strong formation. So we're going to be in the Cincinnati Bengals offense playbook. Now, he also goes into the tight slots halfback week, but I didn't want the video to be super long, but I can definitely bring that for you guys if you do want to see it. But we're going to be in the bunch offset beginning in that. Hopping into our audibles, we have, we're going to go with flood. We have smash return, vert tap back under, and then we are going to throw Z spot and go in there. Also, there's going to be a written version of this down below in the comment section, so you can take a look at that and follow along a little bit easier. All the setups will be written there. So those are going to be the 4 plays that we run out of the bunch offset, as well as the inside zone split here in the middle. Out of the halfback strong, we're just going to go over one play, which is going to be the bench pivot. He did run a couple of other plays, but again, we're just going to run bench pivot because that was the main one that he ran. Again, Bengals playbook, couple of abilities that you might want. A, escape artist. B, some kind of a gunslinger or set feet lead. And then you have, or not set feet lead, pass lead elite rather. I always confuse those. But other abilities, you want 2 wide receiver apprentices. That's what we have. We traded over Michael Thomas, but we have Michael Thomas. And then DK, of course, has outside apprentice. But generally, 2 wide receiver apprentices in case you were to flip your players, do different things. And of course, I think he had maybe some O-line abilities. But yeah, other than that, let's jump straight into it with our first play, which is going to be the Z spot and go. Now, all of these setups are written in the comment section from the bunch on the right side's perspective, so keep that in mind while you're following along. But we're going to start out with a setup where we go ahead, post X. We're going to smart out it. Now, this is a setup that he kind of ran. I think it had actually a 4th and short situation. So the post was a lot shorter than this, so you don't have to smart out it if you're in 1st and 10, but if you're in like a 2nd and 5, smart outing it definitely could help. But you're just going to run post route with your solo side receiver. You're going to go ahead, put A on a little out route, and then with Y, you're going to put him on a wheel route. So this is your setup. Now, what you're going to do with Z spot and go is always motion this player out. It's going to be really good against man coverage, but also against zone. It's going to allow him to just run that route a little bit delayed, and ultimately you see how delayed he runs it to the point that the hook curls in this scenario are pulled all the way up. So definitely does make a big difference there. You see, again, against man coverage, he's going to cook man coverage, and then you motion snap him so that he doesn't get pressed. It's going to be A1 against that. So again, post X, wheel Y, put A on a little out route, and then again, I like to motion out Michael Thomas. You can either motion him out a little bit or a lot. Here we're just going to throw the out route, and you see Everett. You're able to catch it up the field, pick up a first down right there. So that is your, and I would say first read for this play, probably your wheel route with Chris Carson. If that's open, you're probably going to take it. But again, you have a couple of other late reads with B and RB, so you can definitely throw those a little bit later. But there you see easy 20-yard gain on the wheel route, just picking up some solid gains, solid yardage, and some big chunk plays with this Z spot and go. This is definitely an underrated play. I don't see a lot of bunch guys using these plays, so you guys can probably add these to your arsenal if you are already running bunch. And of course, if you're able to, you can roll out and throw this to Tyler Lockett. So there you pretty much see all the reads against man coverage. Again, the wheel, Michael Thomas's route, and then Tyler Lockett's route will all beat that. And then the late play situation, you also have DK Metcalf. So moving into setup number 2, we're going to go ahead post X again. This time we're going to block the running back, or block the tight end rather, and just wheel this. So basically the same play, just with the tight end blocking. This is good for blitzing scenarios if your opponent's sending a little bit of pressure. Again, you see Michael Thomas's route. It's going to be slow developing. If you want it a little bit further inside, you can just not motion him out as much. So you can definitely do that if you want to. Just motion him out a step, which is something that you could do. And you see he actually runs deeper up the field, so you can kind of wait, throw that up the field, or you can throw it a little bit earlier in a low ball type situation or scenario. So you can really do either, which is nice out of this play. But again, just overall good. If it is cover 3, you do have a potential chance to beat it with this play. We'll see if we can get the protection, get the time to really roll out and throw this. And sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not. This corner out's not the best for the cover 3 beater, but I have seen it work in certain situations, certain scenarios. So again, it can work in situational play. But again, I think it's a little bit better against cover 2, which is probably what I was thinking of. So it's going to be good against cover 2 because this guy's over here. He's going to pull down that deep half to the right side. And as long as you get protection, get enough time, the wheel route will also be able to kind of pin those deep halves to the sidelines. So show one more time here, motion out, just like a step for this situation. Again, you can like roll out, throw it up the field, and you can pick up big plays. And again, in a lot of situations, there's not hook curl sitting in the middle of the field. It'll be their user, and that's it. Moving into our last setup out of the Z spot and go, what we're going to do here is go ahead, put Y on a wheel route, put X on an out route. We're going to block A, and we're just going to motion out. So we're going to run it like this. Simple combination. You can run this play with your bunch on the short side if you want, or the wide side. Should not really matter. But again, what you're going to do out of this bunch, and what he did a lot, is really just flip the bunch a lot. So if you want to, you can go ahead, flip. Should not affect the play, but he just did a lot of flipping. So you can come out on the short side, flip to the wide side, or you can of course run this play on the short side of the field with your bunch. Ooh, bad stiff arm right there by Chris Carson. That is dangerous, man, in the open field. But yeah, the wheel route, you see how good it is against cover 3 right there. And of course, we still have our corner out. We still have Michael Thomas's route. So man coverage, this is going to be a good play. 3 routes that will beat man. And then again, late play situation, you can kind of freestyle with that out route on the sidelines with your escape artist, which again, most of you should be using. That's going to take us to our second play, which is going to be the verticals play. First setup is going to be Y on a wheel route. This is a setup that Henry used a lot. And again, Henry and Wesley kind of ran similar offenses. Now Wesley did a lot more audibling to things like tight slots and halfback strong than Henry did, which is why there's probably a little bit more straight bunch offset setups than Henry's. But we do have a lot of different setups between the two, which is nice. You can kind of combine the both if you want. This was a setup that Henry used a ton throughout the entire tournament, both in the championship and in his semifinal game. And this play is really difficult to stop. Henry uses it a good amount as well. Definitely his most called verticals play. And for good reason. You see how good it is going to be against zone. The double wheel combination is super difficult to defend in a couple of different ways. And again, if it is man coverage, you might be in a little bit of trouble, but you still have this over route. You still have your running back that can beat it kind of quickly. But mainly, this is going to be ideal in beating zone. It wouldn't be my go-to to beat man coverage by any stretch of the imagination. But again, press man, certain routes definitely could get a little bit more open, like that deep fade on the solo side receiver. But yeah, man, overall just a good play, good quick snap play. It beats cover 2, beats cover 3, beats match. And then again, you can always roll out. And really, I like for this play, you're generally going to step through the pocket or try to sit in the pocket a little bit longer. Whereas when you're running a different setup with this, you're going to try and scramble out. With the wheel route, I like to kind of sit in the pocket. And if I am going to run up, I like to sprint through that middle there. But yeah, man, overall, good play. And again, I don't really like scrambling out, especially to the wheel side. It just throws me off a little bit. So this is generally a play where you're not necessarily trying to throw that deep route on the sideline, if that makes any sense. But overall, solid play right there. Second setup is just a streak why this is a good red zone setup that he ran. I don't think he really ran this outside of the red zone. But again, similar stuff. You try to sit in the pocket probably for this one. And again, this is a good play against cover 3 to stretch the seams. You're pretty much just using these streaks instead of the wheel routes. Just both A, Y going to be wide open, and RB. Generally, you're making a read between those 3, tight end, running back, and the slot wide receiver. Late play situations, you have your guys like Michael Thomas that you might be able to throw, and I have no idea what happened there, but somehow the 3-4 odd nano blitz just came through. But yeah, man, good quick snap play as well, kind of roll out. And again, if you have to, you can throw this up the field and you should be able to complete it. So good late play option as well. Next setup is going to be block your running back, drag A. I don't like this setup too much. I don't think it worked for him in game, but it can be decent, especially if you're trying to quick snap, stretch the field. If you notice him not in a double Mabel, you should have either the tight end or the over route open. Generally, the Tyler Lockett's route will get over most zone drops as well. And this is going to be good protection because you're blocking 6, so if he is to send pressure, you should still have time to be able to roll out, which ideally you do kind of want to roll out to the left in this situation and throw it. Even if you do find yourself in a situation where Michael Thomas is able to be thrown, not early, but probably like later, you still can kind of roll out and throw across the body, which most times if you're throwing it to him, he should have a lot of space to be able to make that play for you. So, again, just a good play. And again, a lot of these are 1, 2 hot routes out of the verticals. You're keeping the play because of how good it is, so you're not usually just switching up a ton of stuff. Usually keeping it simple with the majority of the play. So overall, we got one more setup, and it's going to be a simple verticals with an option route. If it's man coverage, he's going to run a little out route. And if it's zone coverage, he's going to sit in that curl. We're in zone coverage right now, so that's what he's doing. But if it were man coverage, he would run a little out route that would probably be man coverage. But again, nice little quick snap play. Chris Carson generally will sit there wide open. He can also do a nice job at pulling down zones depending on the situation, especially if it's match coverage probably. But overall, just a good route there. And again, you still have your same routes, A, B, RB, X. You're generally keeping them for most setups. It's rare situations like the last play where we drag A, but for the most part, you're just keeping the same stuff. And it's really just you're always going to have someone open in bunch. You just got to make the read. That's kind of how I look at it. You're generally going to have somebody sitting open. It's whether you can make the read or not. So that's up to you. But next play is going to be flood. And with this flood play, we're never really going to call it like this. We're going to generally do a lot of hot routes around it. And the first play we're going to do is cross B and flip. That's going to be a setup that's involved with all three of these plays. And you'll even see something kind of like that out of the bench pivot play out of the strong when we go to that. But you're going to cross B. Then what I like to do is, of course, you're going to flip. And then what I did in the Google Doc, if you're looking at it, you cross it, and then I flip. So now my hot routes are based on the bunch on this side. So we're going to streak X, hitch RB, wheel Y, and then block A. So here's your setup. Now, something I saw him do was kind of go flip these two guys a couple of times. You can really run it either. You can hitch RB, streak X, or hitch X and streak RB. Does not matter. It doesn't have any effect on the play. Just whether you want your hitch a little bit further inside or not, I guess. Now, kind of your goal for this play is usually to kind of roll out to that side and throw that deep crosser if you're able to. If not, you have a couple of safety valves. Your quick read, if he sends pressure, somehow it gets home, is going to be Chris Carson. If not, of course, you have your hitch. So if you want to, you can throw Chris Carson here. You see easy first down that we are able to convert. But if we aren't able to throw that, what we can do is roll out in either playmaker the hitch, or we can go ahead and be able to throw that crosser. So it just depends on how deep his user is. His user will usually be deep. You can kind of playmaker back to this side, or you can actually playmaker up the field, and usually it'll be open. Now it depends on the situation, of course. The way that we're in coverage right here with this cover 3, you see it's going to be, you have two guys on him with the curl flat and the hook curl, which again, a lot of times you won't see in the actual game. So it's just situational. But next setup is going to be cross B. You're going to flip. You're going to streak RB, drag A. Put the running back on a little out route to the left, and then you're going to put X on an in route and smart route it. So here is your setup. RB's on a streak. I'm not sure why he looks like that, but trust me, he is on a streak. So you have a crosser, in route, kind of two drags, and then you have your little clear out, which is going to be the streak. I think the best way to throw this is you see how much space we have with Michael Thomas. That's going to be the kind of your ideal guy. And a lot of times, because you have 20 crossing routes running side to side, the user gets stuck in the fold, and a lot of times he can actually get open. Now, you notice the way that I'm running this is just from flipping our bunch from wide side to short side. You can also run this play flipping from short side to wide side. Because of abilities and handicaps that I have to do it this way, but generally you have two wide receiver apprentices, so you should be able to do it that way, which can affect the way that the play looks as well. But again, drag A, put the running back on a little out route, and then smart out Metcalf on an in route. So we already showed the crosser. Now we have this side. We can throw either the drag. Again, not going to be too many situations where there's two hook curls in the middle of the field. So the user, if he follows the crosser, you can throw across the body to the in route. Or what you can do is go ahead and just throw that drag as we did there. If you were to roll out to the right, and I generally would kind of slide over to the right side in that situation. If you see the crosser open, you can kind of throw across the body. So don't sprint out to the numbers on the right, but kind of skim out that, because that's where your safety valve, your late play situation is going to develop. One more time. Drag A. And again, if you see him send pressure, you're making a read between the tight end or Chris Carson, which again, you can throw. And pretty much on any play, pick up 5 yards if you're able to make some guys miss 10, 15 easily. So very good play there. One more setup out of this flood. Cross B, you're going to go ahead, flip it again, drag A, hitch X, streak RB, and wheel Y. Here's your setup. Again, Lockett's on a normal streak. I have no idea why he looks like that, but just because we flipped. But again, hitch, drag, wheel. I like this play a lot. I think it's a good play, good setup. A couple of quick reads with your wheel, drag, and then of course late play you have your same high-low between the crosser and that hitch. So overall, pretty good setup in my opinion. I don't like this setup as much as the other ones. I would say I don't really like the way the tight end and the wheel kind of run into the same area personally, but it definitely could work. And again, you can hitch X, streak RB, or hitch RB, streak X. Doesn't really matter. But here we'll just kind of roll out to the side. You can playmaker DK back, bring the user down, throw this guy up the field, and then kind of make these players miss, pick up yourself 40 yards or maybe even a touchdown. Who knows? Now we got ourselves one last setup out of the bunch offset, and then we'll talk about the inside zone a little bit. But we got smash return. With this play, we're going to go ahead, post X, slant RB, corner B, and this is actually max protect setup. So again, this is something that you can create really out of any play. I think he just did it out of smash return, so we'll talk about it through that. But pretty good against man coverage. Of course, you're usually running this play when he's going to blitz, but it is going to be a cover 3 beater if you have enough time to throw it. So it definitely can beat cover 3. Again, you need the time, but if you get the time, it can beat cover 3. Poor throw there, but you see how the corner out's going to pull him down. And again, if you are able to have a fast enough receiver, DK is pretty fast. So you buy yourself enough time, you can kind of roll out here, pass lead over, and there you see we're able to complete it. Not as ideally there, but you guys can kind of get the gist based on the first play and how he was pretty much open in that scenario. So good play rate there. Show it again. Again, if it's man coverage, you have 3 routes that are going to be man coverage quickly. Here you have your slant that you can roll out, throw on the sideline, wide open. Again, we have no other routes on the left affecting it at all besides our clear out, and the slant's able to get open against that, which is pretty nice. And again, the corner out's getting covered on that right side, but you don't really need to throw it. You're trying to kind of open up that guy. Depends on, of course, how he's running zone drops. There you see throwing the cover 3 beater. It's working now. Just got to get the right pass lead outside. But again, you're not really trying to throw the corner out. There's a small window to throw it. And again, if he has zone drop set a little bit lower, then you might actually be able to throw it. But it's not going to be your first read. It's not going to be what you're trying to complete when you run this play. You're trying to hit that cover 3 beater over the top. Last smash return setup we're going to go to is going to be streak X, slant RB, and put our running back on a route to the right. This is a very interesting setup, and I think whenever Wesley ran this, he actually was able to open up the corner out. I think this was against Joke. He was able to open up the corner out with Everett in the back of the end zone. It was man coverage, so you have 3 routes that beat man coverage with the running back, the slant, and then that kind of reverse zig route. 3 routes that beat man coverage, and then Everett definitely can get open if you have a good enough tight end. So once again, slant RB, put running back on a little route to the right. And then we could leave this in route. It just creates so much chaos. We're just going to kind of clear him out. If you wanted to, you could probably post him and it would work, but I think he just streaked him. It shouldn't really matter. And again, this is a red zone setup, so you can run it in the red zone, but it also works from out here as well. All right, we got 2 more plays to talk about. Again, we're going to talk about the halfback strong, but we're going to start out with this run play, inside zone split. And this is the run play that he used. Pretty good. Again, you're going to run the ball not too many times. Mainly, you're going to run it in the red zone. In that situation, you probably want to go to goal line, but we'll show it because he did end up running it in both games, I think. 3rd and 1s, you can also run the inside zone. I'm fine with that, but you're going to try and probably run the ball under 10 times, I would say, as a rule of thumb. It's a heavy passing offense, but you can definitely pick up decent blocks, good blocks. We're going to get against a pretty heavy defensive formation right now, and the wrong play here. But the blocks are pretty good against things like 2-4-5 odd, dime 2-3-6. I don't know what coverages people are running other than that, maybe regular dollar, but I mean, you're going to run the ball good against those formations, of course. Here you see against 3-4 odd, 10-15 easily, even more, 16-17 yards. But again, just solid. You're not going to use any motion. And we didn't really use any motion in bunch, which is something interesting that I noticed again. Well, less and less motion you see. In past years, you saw tons of motion like this out of bunch. And even in the beginning of the year, you saw a little bit more of that. But right now, not really the meta to do that. So of course, we show what plays they run directly. So clearly no motion. But again, solid run play. Mix it in a decent amount. maybe once, twice a drive. You're trying to pass the ball. It's a passing game, so not too much to talk about. Let's go into the bunch halfback strong now. I'm not going to audible every time, but I do want to show you what it looks like if you are audibling. So you're going to audible. Here's the setups. I actually have the wrong play here, tight end vertical. You're going to have flanker drive in there, but we're only going to run bench pivot. This is what it looks like if you audible. I'm just going to simply move this guy back. The quarterback's going to take a step back. Running back's going to go from left to right, and there you have it. So it's a pretty quick audible. And again, we're going to actually go back out so I don't have to audible every time I Alrighty, hopping into our last play, which is going to be bench pivot. As we mentioned, we now came out in it, so we don't have to audible every time. But again, for this offense, you're going to come out in bunch offset every time. If you want to switch to tight slots or halfback strong, you're going to audible from bunch. Give them the same look and then audible. It just creates confusion. But for this play, you're going to cross B. You're actually not going to flip when you cross B. Interesting. You're going to go ahead, flat RB, block your tight end, and then wheel the running back. So here is your money setup. Wheel route's going to get open. He's going to be on the wide side, and then you have your little crosser in route. Kind of similar to one of the setups that we ran. But overall, good against man coverage. Good overall setup. Might be a little bit better against cover 2 than cover 3. Now, again, cross B, block your tight end, flat RB, wheel Y. Here we're going to throw the wheel route, and you see wide open over there. You kind of, when you flat RB, most people don't think that he actually gets open, but he does. He sits in a pretty good spot as well, matter of fact. But yeah, man, overall, just a pretty good setup again. Good protection as well. And then your late reads are going to be, you maybe roll out, throw B, but you also have X getting across the middle with DK right here that you can easily throw and pick up a handful of yards. So really good setup there. We got one more setup out of this play. What we're going to do here is go ahead, put our running back on an out route to the left. You're going to go ahead, slant RB, and then with X, we're just going to post him. So this is similar to some smash return type setups. I like this one a little bit better because the running back's on that side, so when he runs the under route, it creates an easy instant high-low between the slant and the running back. And then you go ahead and have your potential rollout option with the tight end. This should beat cover 3 if you get enough time. You're only blocking 5, but I think it can beat cover 3 if you're able to roll out, throw it over the top. You see it is kind of open there. Gunslinger, more throw power would help. We do have Gunslinger, but you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. But again, overall, just a good setup. You just have a ton of options, really good against man coverage. Here, we're just going to kind of fit in this corner route, which you can throw. Somehow, we just can't complete the pass now. Cool. But you just have a handful of options. Of course, Michael Thomas wide open early over here. Generally, the slant route actually gets bumped up the field. I think it got bumped down the field, which is kind of interesting there. But overall, just a really good play. Show it one more time here. And again, something that you can kind of snap quicker. You see the slant, you can kind of throw it over the top as well. Somehow, Russell Wilson just forgot how to throw. But yeah, man, that's going to do the video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and peace. I'm out of here.